Co-convener of the People's Movement to Free Sarath Fonseca, parliamentarian Arjuna Ranatunga says that a good opportunity has dawned for the government to correct its wrongs.
මේ රටේ මානව හිමිකම් උල්ලංඝනය වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා.
We cannot say that human rights in the country are not being violated. We cannot say that individuals are not being abducted in white vans. I think this is what Anoma Fonseca too has to say on behalf of her husband. If the rulers in this country do not listen to the injustices that are taking place, then where do we go? Today, people who speak on behalf of their husbands and families are called traitors. I think the people in this country need to understand this very clearly. The government has a good opportunity to at least now open its eyes and ears and listen to what the people have to say and correct its mistakes. The government is duty bound to do so. Speaking at the media briefing, Anoma Fonseca said that the second phase of a seminar to secure the release of Sarath Fonseca will be held at the Kalutara Town Hall on the 7th.
පක්ෂපාත ભેදයක් නැතුව කිසිම ભેදයක් නැතුව ආගම් ජාති ભેදයක් නැතුව
We would like to invite everyone who yearns for democracy and justice and those who love the general to take part in this regardless of the party and other differences.
මෙතනට රැස් වෙන්න කියලා අපි කාරුණිකව ආරාධනා කරනවා.
The Sri Lanka Ports Authority has decided to route vessels carrying motor vehicles to the Magam Ruhundupura Mahinda Rajapaksa port with effect from the 31st of May 2012. Issuing a communique, the Sri Lanka Ports Authority said that this decision was taken after considering the long berthing delays experienced at the Colombo port.
The Sri Lanka Ports Authority noted that due to the non-availability of berthing facilities at the Colombo port, vessels experienced delays of more than 10 days. It added that as a result, freight rates have been increased by the lines, which in turn add to the cost of the selling price of a vehicle in the local market. The SLPA pointed out that the situation also results in the reluctance of shipping lines to come into Colombo. The communique issued by the Sri Lanka Ports Authority noted that this decision has been taken in consultation with shipping lines and importers. It went on to say that vehicle parking yards in the port have also become congested due to the influx of imports, despite the SLPA releasing many underutilized areas for parking. Another reason for the congestion, as stated in the SLPA communique, is that used vehicle importers fail to expeditiously clear their vehicles from the port. Thereby, the SLPA says that the Hambantota port has been identified as the most suitable alternative with simplified clearing arrangements and ample parking.
Well, Parliament has set aside today and tomorrow to debate the government's stance with regard to the US-sponsored resolution on Sri Lanka, which was adopted by the UNHRC in Geneva, and the measures that need to be taken in this regard. The motion for the debate was tabled by Democratic National Alliance parliamentarian Anurukumara Disanayaka.
ඒ පිළිබඳ මීට පෙර ගරු වැඩබලන විදේශ සමාත්‍යතුමා විසින් මෙම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ප්‍රකාශයක් කරන ලදී.
On an earlier occasion, the acting Minister of External Affairs made a statement before Parliament in this regard. Furthermore, several ministers expressed different views on this. A defence agreement has been signed with former US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Robert Blake. What is stated in this defence agreement? We have agreed to provide our land, our ports, our airport, food, water, fuel and other infrastructure facilities if a war takes place in the region involving the US. Now, whose side are you in?
There are long-standing reasons as well as recent reasons. The most recent is the defeat of the LTTE in the last battle, and also because we did not let them intervene during the conflict. But the long-standing fact is more complex and decisive. The House should pay attention to this. India is not an imperialist country. There may be certain leaders with imperialist agendas, but India is not an imperialist country. We don't accept their political decision. In case they supported us, their government would have been sent home the very next day. That's the truth. Their decision was based on their internal issues, not due to any fault on our part. The governments of the two countries have a mutual understanding.
The resolution adopted a few weeks ago is the first real attempt in the international community to put Sri Lanka on call. The international community has finally decided and was ready to confront Sri Lanka and the Sri Lanka's request for further time had been rejected. Prejudging the efforts of sovereign and independent member state of the international community by way of such action will wittingly and unwittingly subscribe to the efforts and agenda of the terrorist rump to derail the delicate peace and reconciliation efforts in this country. My point of view of this issue is that Sri Lankan government blew it out of proportion, this resolution. The United States had invited the Sri Lankan authorities to join them to draft this resolution. The government had spent colossal amount of money and energy in knocking in their heads against the rock of US government. The resolution is simply calling upon the government of Sri Lanka to implement the salient features and comments made by the LLRC report. The so-called policy statement is that no foreign country should intermeddle with the Sri Lankan affairs. If that is the position of the Sri Lankan government, it should immediately resign from the United Nations membership.
Well, also in news from the House of Legislature, the opposition leader responded to a statement made by a deputy minister about the leader of the opposition.
Everyone who is responding to questions cannot speak of anything else other than responding to it. The time of this House will be wasted by using unnecessary words.
විපක්ෂ නායකතුමාගේ නම සඳහන් කරන නිසා එතුමාට අවස්ථාව දෙනවා කතා කරන්න. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ප්‍රශ්න අදාළ විදිහට පිළිතුරු දෙන්න.
Respond to questions raised in Parliament accordingly. I can respond to the Prime Minister. If there is something that needs to be stated, all who are here are not the Prime Minister or the President. If someone has said unnecessary things, please remain silent before I take the next step. The leader of the opposition used some words and he needs to withdraw them. We would like to express our displeasure in this regard.
Staying in local news, lawyers and the UNP faithful are voicing opposition to the investigation report presented by the committee headed by President's Counsel Srinath Pereira on the alleged attack on the UNP headquarters Sirikotha. They say that the report is one-sided.
මෙකී වාර්තාවේ සලකා බැලීමේදී මූලික නීති සිද්ධාන්තයන් වන
When considering this report, the fundamental principle of lending an ear to both sides has been violated. Item 6, Roman numeral 2, uses the words violently and abusively. This means that at the time the report was being prepared, the committee had already decided that these individuals had acted in a violent and abusive manner. Therefore, it is evident that like the verdict in the Kakille case, this report has violated the fundamentals of law and the fundamentals of natural justice.
There is no reasoning behind the leader's action. He has appointed a one-sided committee. President's Counsel Srinath Pereira was appointed by him to fulfill his needs. We are against this.
As party faithful, what we have to say about the Srinath Pereira committee report is that it is false. We completely reject this committee report. People like Srinath Pereira, who recently joined the party, are producing false reports. We are deeply disappointed about the fact that a professional senior lawyer like Srinath Pereira has produced a committee report like this. UNP faithful also say that the report makes no mention of persons who acted in a violent manner within Sirikotha on the day of the attack. We made inquiries from President's Counsel Srinath Pereira in this regard. We did not receive information from anywhere. You may have information, but we did not receive any information that provocative actions took place from within. We have only received information that when a group came inside and started attacking, the unarmed police officers who were rendered helpless removed the poles in the fence and prepared to defend themselves. However, Southern Provincial Councillor Maitri Gunaratne says that he voluntarily went before the committee and testified regarding persons who acted violently from within Sirikota and challenged the committee to reveal this testimony.
මේ කමිටුවට මම ස්වච්ඡාවෙන් ගියේ. මේ කමිටුවට ස්වච්ඡාවෙන් යනකොට අපිට අතේ තිබිච්ච පින්තූරු.
I went to this committee voluntarily. When I went voluntarily to this committee, I took some photographs along with me and I told Srinath Pereira that this happened because those who were inside pelted stones. I even mentioned about the Buddha statue. The Buddha statue faces the Sirikota headquarters. Therefore, stones cannot be hurled from the road at the Buddha statue. Damage may have been caused when stones were hurled from inside. I brought this fact with written evidence to his attention. I am challenging President's Counsel Srinath Pereira to present a copy of the evidence that was produced. We provided evidence and photographs of those who were inside Sirikota.
මම පැහැදිලිවම අභියෝග කරනවා ශ්‍රීනාත් පෙරේරා ජනාධිපති නීතිඥතුමාට මම ඔබතුමා ඉදිරියේ දීපු සාක්ෂි පිටපතක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න අපි සිරිකොත ඇතුලේ හිටපු කණ්ඩායම ගැන පැහැදිලිවම සාක්ෂි වශයෙන් සහ පින්තූරු වශයෙන් අපි ඔබතුමාට සාක්ෂි ලබා දුන්නා.
Up next is Action TV.
The Paddy Marketing Board commenced a program to provide relief to the majority of farmers in the Ampara district who had been despondent for close upon 2 months as they were unable to sell their paddy from the Maha harvest at a fair price. Under this program, the board deployed a number of prime movers or container trucks obtained from the private sector to transport the paddy purchased from the farmers at the government stipulated price to the storage facility belonging to the Paddy Marketing Board in Oyamadua, Anuradhapura and the food department storages in Weyangoda. The Paddy Marketing Board did not have to bear any cost to load the purchased paddy onto the containers as the farmers voluntarily undertook this task. However, the Paddy Marketing Board had agreed to pay a sum of 7 rupees to workers at the food department storage in Weyangoda and the Oyamadua storage facility owned by the board for each 50-kilo sack of paddy unloaded. Transporters carrying the paddy from Ampara to Weyangoda and Oyamadua are now facing a similar situation to the hardships faced by the farmers in Ampara for close upon 2 months. At first from Ampara, we were asked to go to Weyangoda. Then after loading, we were asked to come here. Since it was already loaded, there was nothing we could do, so we came here. Now only 20-foot lorries are being taken in and about 16 lorries are stuck here. Only lorries up to 20 feet can enter the Oyamadua storage facility because the premises cannot accommodate these prime movers. Accordingly, the unloading of paddy from the prime movers outside the storage facility was commenced today, with the transporters agreeing to conditions laid down by a group of persons who claim to be employees of the Paddy Marketing Board. We get about 5 a day. 7 rupees was agreed for each bushel, but they are asking for about 500 rupees extra. A situation not second to the one in Oyamadua has also arisen near the Weyangoda storage facility. We loaded everything in Ampara and got here the day before yesterday. Since then, we have been stuck here. We just unloaded on the promise that we would pay. They wanted 1,500 or they would not unload. Action TV made inquiries from an official of the food department in charge of the storage facility regarding the fees being charged. There is a department rate. We are working accordingly, and the labourers have been notified that it is not allowed to charge such fees. Nevertheless, even the food department has recruited a group of temporary labourers to unload the paddy. We are not attached to the government, we are hired labourers. These transactions, which can be equated to extortion, are taking place because of the disorganisation of the Paddy Marketing Board and no other reason. Is it not possible that in this backdrop, the Paddy Marketing Board may no longer receive the support of the private sector? Chairman of the Paddy Marketing Board, this one is over to you.